Okay, we're on Nun Zayin and Aleph. The last thing we spoke about was Mashiach. As we saw, the last thing we spoke, someone sees um, a branch, a long, great branch in a dream. We should look towards Mashiach to come. Even though you always look for Mashiach to come, and that's one of the questions that a person is going to be asked. The Gemara says in Shabbat, after 120, there are people are going to be answering questions, right? Not only here in the United States, people go to court, they answer questions, they're on the witness stand, but people will be answering questions. And one of the questions they're going to be asked after 120, the first question was, were you honest in business? Second question, you have set times to learn Torah. And another one of the questions is that you sipita li Yeshua. Were you looking forward to Mashiach coming? Were you living life recognizing we're missing something? We don't have Mashiach, we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, we don't have the Korbanot, we don't have Eretz Yisrael in the way we want to have Eretz Yisrael. Were you looking forward to Mashiach or not? That's one of the questions. So if this guy sees this grapes, which, let's say the medical symbol is a snake, right? You see the snake on the stick, you ever see the ambulance? Because that's a symbol of medical health, because of the Torah. The case of the Torah was when the people got bitten by Hashem sent a certain a snake to bite the people. So Hashem says, take a certain snake, put it on this, put it on the stick, and they looked at the snake, and they will look at it, will be healed. So that's why it's a symbol of medicine, because in the Torah it was used. Hashem said to make a certain snake out of a certain metal, and the point was Hashem was showing you it's not the snake that kills, because you could be bitten by a snake and you could be saved by looking at a snake. It's the sin that kills. That's what it's all about. But that's why it's a symbol of medicine, because in the Torah, in the Bible, it has this picture of the snake on top of the stick, and that's why they use that as a symbol. So in the symbol of Mashiach, one of the symbols of Mashiach coming is a sign of a nice grapevine full with grapes, nice branch full with grapes, because that's what's going to happen, as we said, in the time of Mashiach. There'll be a tremendous abundance of wine, and the point of that will be that people will not have financial issues in the time of Mashiach. And if people have the time to do what needs to be done, focus the time, the energy, and understanding God and Torah in its fullest sense. It says, Mola Oretz Deyes Hashem. The world will finally understand God. They'll be able to have a better understanding of God. So that's so if you see that in your dream, it's a sign of maybe Hashem is saying it's an auspicious time for Mashiach to come. Mashiach can come anytime, but there's certain times that lend itself, like the Gemara says, in Nisan, it's a good time to be redeemed, because we were redeemed originally in Nisan. Rabbi David Feinstein passed away a little over a year ago. I heard, it says that in Daniel, the Sefer Daniel, it's hidden the year what Mashiach will come. There's certain calculations that people could figure out. Rabbi Feinstein in the 1960s, he was learning Daniel. So Moshe's son, the one who just, it's a Sefer Daniel. There's a Sefer, there was a prophet Daniel, and he was teaching the Sefer Daniel to his class. And he made calculations that based on his calculations, it looks like that 1967 will be a year that lends itself greatly. It could come anytime, but he sees something in his calculation for 1967. And 1967 was an amazing year when we got back the Kosel, we got back the place of the Beit HaMikdash, we got it back. But we didn't do enough to get it, to merit. But meaning it was a time that lends itself better, it's an easier time, home field advantage type of thing. It's an easier time. So getting back to our Gemara. Now, Horoa Teina B'Chalom. You see a fig in your dream. What is the sign of a fig? We just said the grape is a sign of the branch of grapes is a sign of Mashiach. What's the sign of a fig? So we're up to, we're about in the middle of the wide lines, we're right after the wide lines. Third line, the wide lines. You got it? Right, right, in the middle of that line. Someone sees a fig in his dream. So in connection with figs, we find the idea of being watched. Because the pasuk says when you watch if you guard the fig, the pasuk talks about you'll be able to eat the fruit that's inside the fig. And so we find a connection to a fig, the idea of guarding, protecting. So the Gemara says it's a sign that Torato mishtameret b'kirbo, that the Torah that you will learn will be guarded. You won't forget it. Similar to the pasuk, which connects the fig to something being protected. So the Gemara says, he won't forget your Torah, it will be protected. See, one of the things that we need to do is to review our Torah study, so we shouldn't forget. So here it says that there'll be a great bracha, you'll have a phenomenal, you'll remember it, you won't forget. The one the protector of a fig tree, Yochel Pirya, will eat its fruit. Now we're going through the 7 species of Israel. If you see a pomegranate in a dream, what's the sign of the pomegranate? So the pomegranate is one of the bigger fruits out there. So it's a sign of being increased, prosperous, big, sign of of prosperity. So if you see, and then the question is what size? Every pomegranate is big. The only question is there are larger pomegranates and smaller pomegranates. So if you see a zutri, the smaller pomegranates, that's parias kikirimona. Your business will be fruitful like a pomegranate. Pomegranate has many seeds in the pomegranate. It's not just the size of the pomegranate, all the many seeds. Your business will be successful. There'll be you'll have a nice business, make a nice living. But if you see Rav Ravi, if you see very big pomegranates, that's the Ravi Iskibrimona. That means your business will be tremendously, you'll be very large. Business will expand. There are people that are successful in business, but that doesn't mean, but they're not international. There's levels of success. So therefore, there'll be a very high level of success. Palge, if you see half pomegranates cut in half. Now, when a pomegranate is cut in half, that means that's a sign you want to get out. A lot of times you want to get out the juice. Pomegranate juice is not a new thing. Pomegranate juice is the old thing. It's a sign of the juice, and the juice of the pomegranate is connected to a very positive thing. So it says, if one sees the pomegranate cut in half, sliced in the middle. So im Talmud Chacham hu, the person who sees this dream of the pomegranate is a Torah scholar. So that's the sign Yisapel the Torah. It's a sign that he's going to be great in Torah. Shenema, you can have many people that are Talmidei Chachamim, that are Torah scholars, but one Torah scholar grows to even a much greater scholar, so to speak. Within the league of Torah scholars, there's different levels of Torah scholars. So therefore, it seems like it's saying one becomes a Rosh Yeshiva. You can have all Torah scholars, but he became the Rosh Yeshiva. Obviously, he excelled in a certain sense. So that's a sign. Shenema, Ashkecha miyayin harekech. The pasuk says in Shir Hashirim that I will give you to drink from spiced wine, from the juice, me'asis limoni, from the juice of my pomegranates. So that's the idea. And this pasuk is referring to Torah. And so if a person is a Talmud Chacham and he sees the juice of the pomegranate, and you see the juice of the pomegranate by seeing the pomegranate split in half, that's a sign that you're going to be this person who is going to be this great Torah scholar. Because the pasuk in Shir Hashirim is saying it's a mashal to Torah, that Hashem will be so satisfied and enjoy the study of the Torah of the Jewish people, and that's what the pasuk is saying, and that's why, and it refers to the Torah of the Jewish people, the juice of the pomegranate. So the im amoretsu, if the person is an amoretz, if the person is an unlearned person who had a dream, good morning. If he's an unlearned person that had the dream, so what is the sign of having a pomegranate in a dream of a unlearned person? So the Gemara says it's a sign of Yisapel and mitzvot. It's a sign that he's going to perform in his life. He's going to have a lot of mitzvot. He's going to merit to be involved in a lot of mitzvot. You know, some people are very learned and they know how to learn, but then there are Jews that never went to yeshiva. Jews that were brought up on the farm and they never, and you know, really they're supposed to figure out how to learn and get to learn, but if they're not going to be learning, at least it's saying that that person is going to go ahead and be involved in mitzvot, which is a great thing. Mitzvahs protect the person, will bring them to a great portion, olam haba. So that's the sign of a pomegranate for a person who is not an educated Jew, because a pomegranate has all these seeds in the pomegranate. So the seeds represent the mitzvot. This guy who sees why is Hashem showing you a pomegranate? He's showing you what's going to happen in the future. You're going to be a person that's going to merit to do a lot of mitzvahs. And when you see it, therefore it gives you the extra strength. Oh, that's what it's saying that I'm going to be. I'm going to make sure I'm going to do it. So that in the pasuk says Shenema, like the pasuk says, where do we see that a pomegranate is connected to mitzvahs? So it says, Kepelach harimon rakosech. When the pasuk describes in Shir Hashirim, when he discusses the beauty of the Shlomo Melech talks about a husband and a wife, a man and a woman, and really it's a metaphor. It's really referring to the Jewish people and God. But he spoke about it in a relationship, the way you perceive the love of a husband and a wife. And therefore, you get a picture of the love of the Jewish people and God. So he refers to his spouse, Hashem, referring to the Jewish people, that the Jewish people are so beautiful. Kepelach harimon rakasech. Your temples are like a section of a pomegranate. What does it mean? Why is it referring to the Jewish people like a piece of a pomegranate? What does that mean? That you look like you connect, Jewish people connect to a pomegranate. So you look at your temples, oh, you have beautiful temples. It's like a pomegranate. What does it mean? That even the people that are not learned among the Jewish people are like a pomegranate. They're full of mitzvot. Even the Reikon, we just learned this in the Zereth and John, the Morris this week, that even the empty people that are not, what does it mean they're empty? They're empty of Torah. They're not learned. But you know what? Even if they're not learned, but they have a lot of mitzvot. They're doing a lot of chesed, doing a lot of kindness, they're doing a lot of tzedakah. So therefore, that is what the pasuk. That's why the rimon represents the idea of mitzvot. Therefore, that's why on Rosh Hashanah it's common that we take a pomegranate on Rosh Hashanah. Correct? I don't know if you do it by your community, because we want to say we hear some. We say here at some we should be full of mitzvot like a pomegranate. But a pomegranate is a sign of either it's a sign of mitzvot. So that's what it says. I saw a nice shot on this idea that a lot of times the uneducated Jew, maybe he's not learning, but what does he do with it? What does he do? He supports Torah. It's like the Yisachar Zvulan, or a lot of supporters of Torah are not educated in Torah. So because of that, because they're a partner with the people that are educated in Torah, and they're supporting it, so they get they get a portion of the Torah that all that.
So you see, if you have money, you can afford it. take much effort to support that.
Right, if a person has money and they can afford it, but it is effort. You know what the effort is, Nathan? The person's willing to give to support. I mean, maybe you're a person who's able to, say not everybody has that appreciation and ready to support. So it's that person, either we try to encourage them to start learning, or we keep it started at 40. And also you encourage them to also be involved in mitzvot, whatever it might be, whether supporting Torah or other mitzvot. So that's the idea of, so therefore, the way he explains it is the following. Listen to this. He quotes from the Ben Ish Chai, he wrote a sefer called Bnei Yohu. Says there are wealthy people that are not engaged in Torah study. However, what do they do? No problem. Mazel tov, mabruk. His grandson's getting bar mitzvah this Shabbat. Wow. However, even though they do not engage in Torah study, which I'm not excusing them, by the way, but nevertheless, they support Torah scholars. And it's as if Hashem gives them, because they enable the people to learn Torah, but if they learn the Torah themselves, because they're a partner in the deal. And it's brought in the Svarim that Bezin Shamala, upstairs in heaven, they will tell the person that supported the Torah scholars that you should take reward in this Masechta. Let's say Masechta is Kedushin. They'll say you're going to get reward for this tractate, this Gemara. The guy will say, I never learned this Masechta. I never learned Kedushin, never learned Bechorov. I never learned that tractate. How can I never learned Shabbat? You're going to give me reward for Masechta Shabbat? I never learned it. And the response will be, such a Chacham learned it. You supported that Chacham, so God considered it as if you learned that Masechta. Is that beautiful? This is brought down in this Mishinantam Gemara. It's from Bnei Yohu. And that's the what? You get much better. And you should need to do both. I don't give people say, okay, just support Torah. No. You need to learn Torah, because you have to understand something. By learning Torah, you become a total different person. We spoke about it yesterday, Mark. It affects the person in such a way. Your fear of God, your shalom bayit, you shalom as a person, because the Torah makes you a different type of person, makes you a more peaceful person. Much better. And someone asked me about yoga yesterday, by the way. It's funny. Someone asked me, what do I think about yoga yesterday? But that's the kavanah. How do you know, Mark? Even the Reikanim, even the empty ones from Torah, because they're not empty, they're full of mitzvot, but they're empty of Torah, but they still fulfill, they get rewarded as if they did all those mitzvot, all that learning, they get a certain portion in it. So therefore, that's the idea of the remote. Okay. If you see olives in your dream, what is the meaning of olives in your dream? So what type of olives did you see? Small or large? So Zutri, if you saw small olives, Hari v'Rabbi v'Kai iskei kezesim. Your business will be fruitful, increase, and will last, just like olives last. It seems that olives have a good shelf life, and therefore it will last just like the olives. The honey mealy pri. This is only if you see the fruit of the tree, the fruit of the olive tree, which is symbolic of being fruitful, increasing. The fruit represents increasing in business. However, but if you see the tree itself, you see olive trees themselves, what's the sign? It's a sign that you'll have many children. Sign of an olive tree, olive branches. We have a pasuk that connects the olive, compares it to someone's children, to the olive branches. The pasuk says, "Banecha k'sile zesim." Your children will be like the branches of an olive tree. So when you see olive branches, it's a sign. You see an olive tree, it's a sign of many children. And let's see how they explain it. And the pasuk, and it says, let's see on the bottom over here. One thing it says, just like olive branches, it seems like they don't graft. You can't graft an olive branch. So too, it's a sign that your children will be also perfect. They won't get unfit. They won't be ruined. You know, when you graft something, you're taken away from the original. It's not its original state anymore. So that's a sign. That's one idea of seeing the olive branches, that a person will be blessed with a lot of children. So it's a very good omen. Okay, we should all be zocher. Hashem should give a blessing to everyone with a lot of children, and let's see some olive branches in our dreams. Okay, and I think you see there's that space over there in that shelf. We could put a number of them right over there, and the rest we could put underneath.